Warning, this video may contain spoilers for late parts in the game. If you plan on playing this at some point, turn back now. You have been warned. Alright guys, I think I need some major help. I don't know what happened, but the playthrough I just did for Shadow the Hedgehog completely changed my opinion about this game. It's great. Don't get me wrong, I don't think this is an amazing game, but there's definitely a charm to it, and I'm not even really biased, even though I really like Shadow, because I hated this game absolutely when it came out. A lot of it was due to not knowing what the fuck was going on in the game, but now that I have a better understanding, it was actually somewhat of a blast to play through. But before I get into all that, let's talk about the basics of the game. For the most part, this plays like a mix of the adventure games and Heroes. Especially Heroes with the art design, so if you're decent with those games, you'll kind of know what to expect. You can grind on rails, use a homing attack, and do ring dashes like normal. Some extra things they added are actual combat you can attempt, though I rarely use this as it's pretty ineffective. And of course the guns, which are surprisingly useful. There's a whole plethora of them to choose from with two different styles, the militaries and the Black Arms, an alien race that I'll explain a little later. You have rocket launchers, pistols, alien rocket launchers, alien sound guns, and a whole bunch more to really mess around with, and for the most part they aren't necessarily required to use an H level, though there are some missions that can't be completed without a whole bunch of firepower that the homing attack can't really replace. The biggest meat and potatoes of the game is the fact that every single level has 3 different goals. One obtained for completing missions deemed evil, as you usually side with Black Doom or Eggman for these. One for helping the Sonic characters, deemed as good, and one for saying screw both sides and just getting to the end of a level. The goals of each change between each level, as for instance, deciding to side with Black Doom on one of the levels involves you attempting to murder the President of the United States, while another level where you side with Charmy has you just locating some info discs. Most neutral goals are, like I said, getting to the end and grabbing a Chaos Emerald, or literally just getting to the end. The reason for these different routes are that there are 10 different endings of the game, but I'm going to leave this for the story section. Another addition to the game is the Dark and Hero gauges that fill from doing either heroic and evil things, though this is basically boiled down to doing whatever each side likes you doing. So killing the gun soldiers usually fills the Dark gauge, and killing aliens usually fills the Hero gauge. Filling the Dark gauge allows you to use Chaos Blast, which just creates a giant explosion around Shadow's vicinity, mostly useful for boss battles and some missions. While filling the Hero gauge allows Shadow to use Chaos Control, allowing Shadow to basically skip a good chunk of any level, though I found that it's more useful to stay in this mode before use of Chaos Control because you get infinite ammo. A filled Dark gauge does the same if you don't use the special move, though you actually get multiple uses of Chaos Blast while in the full gauge. In boss battles, a full Hero gauge will actually slow time, but this isn't really that great, because after hitting certain bosses a couple of times, they get invincibility frames that end up lasting longer due to the slow time. Another thing they add to the game is vehicles, but I didn't really mess around too much with them because they are funnily slower than Shadow, though have a little bit more control. The mechs are actually pretty cool, slow but have a turret mounted on that rinses through enemies, though there is another variation that jumps but extremely high. The Vital Edition is a sort of collectible, being the 5 keys that are scattered through each stage, though they basically only unlock a door with special guns and vehicles. Okay, this story section is going to be a bit different from my other ones, because there are 10 different endings like I said, but there's also a true ending, so none of those endings technically matter too much in the grand scheme, but are pretty great theming for what the overall story is actually about, which is a continuation from the Sonic Hero story of Shadow not knowing if he's actually the original Shadow or not, even delving in a bit deeper, as this is a story of not only that, but Shadow just trying to find out who he is. Throughout the game, there are extra bits of info that also add on to how Shadow was actually created from Sonic Adventure 2, which is where I'll be starting. So this is more of an info section than story section. Essentially, the Black Arms are an alien race that live on the Black Comet, passing Earth every 50 years. During one of their passings, they saw the space colony Ark, and their leader, Black Doom, makes contact with Gerald Robotnik. They formed an alliance and created Shadow the Hedgehog with Black Doom's own blood, furthering Gerald's research of Project Shadow, which was to find a cure for Maria's disease, as well as the government's goal of immortality. This was not without its caveat though, as Black Doom only agreed to do this if Gerald would find him the Chaos Emeralds by the next time he returned. Gerald then realized how much of a threat that the Black Arms were, and created the Eclipse Cannon in order to combat them if it came down to it. A while later, this bore more fruit of Gerald creating the artificial chaos that eventually turned evil for whatever reason, leading to the government shutting down the project. It's still not explained why they decided to murder all of the researchers, besides maybe to keep it quiet that they were trying to create immortality, or maybe they just killed Maria for helping Shadow escape. And of course, Maria is gunned down in front of Shadow. I believe Gerald was in prison before the Ark was raided, so when he eventually learned that Maria died, he basically went insane to all his work being to save Maria anyway, and decided to have Shadow blow up the world with the Eclipse Cannon instead of using it on the Black Arms, though he probably wasn't even thinking about them anymore at this point. Another new bit of info is the fact that Maria had a friend that she made on the colony who would eventually become the commander of Gun, which yes, this makes no fucking sense. He saw Maria get killed, and even his family, blaming Shadow for it all, and thinking Gerald was just a mad scientist and becoming the commander of the organization that he saw commit crimes aplenty. Plus, I don't know why they let him live, but yeah. This is pieced together through various different stages and aren't particularly in order, so that's why I told it like this. As for the multiple endings, like I said, they basically pertain to Shadow trying to figure out who he is, being influenced throughout the game by pretty much everyone, with endings such as deciding to side with Black Doom and ruling over humanity, deciding to blow up the Earth, becoming a recluse on the space colony and becoming its protector, or even becoming absolutely depressed as he believes himself to be a failure for causing all this trouble. The continuation of the Sonic Hero storyline of Shadow comes in the form of Eggman saying that he actually is an android created from the real Shadow, but this is most likely not true, as he could have been lying in order to use Shadow to get the Chaos Emeralds and conquer the world, especially since in Heroes, Rouge finds Shadow in a weird chamber seemingly separate from the androids, as well as having memories from his life before in this game. Now let's get to the actual story of this game. It all starts when the Black Comet once again appears, sending a dark cloud over Earth as Shadow had been reflecting on his past and who he is. Black Doom then appears in front of Shadow and tells him that the Day of Reckoning has arrived and that he must find the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Shadow doesn't know what the hell is going on, so he follows Black Doom into Westopolis. From here, I don't really know what's canon, but after getting all 10 endings, the last story unlocks. This starts with Shadow having found the final Chaos Emerald inside the Black Comet, and Black Doom telling Shadow to give them to him. Sonic and everyone else arrive and tell him to give it to them, or at least to not give it to Black Doom, whose true intentions are to destroy the planet. Doom then reveals that their whole plot was to bring salvation to humanity, who would be imprisoned and used as an energy source. He steals the Chaos Emeralds and uses Chaos Control to teleport the Black Comet into Earth's atmosphere, further revealing the whole shebang about how Shadow was created. Everyone starts to get stuck in place, Doom telling them that he activated a special gas that will fully paralyze the entire planet. Shadow manages to break through this and decides that he's going to destroy Black Doom, starting a chase. After Shadow catches up with him, Doom reveals that they actually have the same blood and attempts to mind control him. On the space colony, Team Chaotix are doing some stuff on the computer when Charmy gets impatient and bashes it, causing a video of Gerald to somehow be broadcast to the entire world and even inside the comet. The video revealing the true use for the Eclipse Cannon, as this was made probably right before he was in prison and before Maria was dead, as well as pleading with Shadow to save the planet. He breaks free from mind control, determined to keep his promise, and he attacks Doom, who vanishes, leaving the Chaos Emeralds behind and letting Shadow use their power in order to transform into Super Shadow, fighting Doom's true form, Devil Doom. After defeating him, he uses Chaos Troll in order to teleport the Black Comet back into space, where Team Chaotix activate the Eclipse Cannon to blow it up. With this promise to the Doctor now achieved, he decides to let go of his past completely, embracing the future of a whole new Shadow the Hedgehog. After you get past the whole "this cartoon hedgehog is holding a gun" bit, this game is surprisingly solid. The music is crazy and wild, but still fits the theming of each level very well. The levels themselves are, for the most part, very fun to play through, with only one I actively stayed away from. This is due to childhood playing. I also like that a good amount of the levels had alternate routes to go through, depending on which route you were trying to play through, which kept the game fresh, while I got through all the endings to get to the true one. I really like the loose story too of Shadow truly trying to figure out who he is, eventually learning to put his pretty horrible past behind him and go out to truly become his own self. I even ended up liking the guns, as they ended up being pretty helpful throughout the game. One thing I didn't really like was the keys. It's a cool excuse to explore the levels more, but the reward for finding all 5 has been pretty mediocre. The only other bit I dislike was the triangle jumps, but that's solely due to me just being bad at them, so it's a lot more minor, but some levels have multiple, and the worst ones are usually after a long segment with no checkpoint. Do I think you should play this game if you don't like Sonic or as an entry point in the series? No, you probably won't have a good time with it. If you like the other Sonic games or just like Shadow in general, absolutely. Opinions will still definitely vary on this game, but who is really taking any of the Sonic series 100% serious in the first place? I'm pretty sure the first thing I thought when I saw the trailers for this game around 2004-05 was something along the lines of, holy shit, Shadow has a gun, that looks ridiculous, let me play it. I know it's probably still going to be a big mixed bag of liking it and hating it, but I definitely think that it's a game worth trying out, even if you do have to do the Westopolis stage at least 10 times to get to the true ending. I mean, even then, there are a ridiculous 326 different routes to play through in this game that I think some people might be down to get lost in. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next video.